Hello, everybody. I am Roy Epstein, Chair of the Belmont Select Board. It's June 9th, 2020, and I'm creating this video to welcome you to the town meeting that's going to start on June 16th. This year, the town meeting will be different from all previous town meetings in that we are not going to gather live in an auditorium. Instead, it's going to be a Zoom meeting. And the town clerk has distributed instructions to you on how to go about doing that. You'll have to log into Zoom and you'll have to create an account on a special platform called Turning Point. And that will be the way you can vote on the articles that come before town meeting. So please review those materials from the town clerk carefully. The meeting on June 16th is going to be focused just on some revenue articles for appropriations. Historically, we've had a segment A and a segment B town meeting. This year, it's essentially just the segment B, which is revenue articles and only just a portion of the revenue articles. What we've done is focus on the most important matters that need to be done before the end of the current fiscal year on June 30th. So we'll be ready for the next fiscal year, fiscal 21. We expect to have one or possibly two special town meetings later in this year to cover the material that we ordinarily would have covered in the springtime. And all of that will be explained in materials I hope you've received already from the town clerk. Let me review a little bit about the situation for fiscal 21. This town meeting will be focused on the approval of the 21 budget. We have worked extremely hard on this. This reflects a collaboration between the town and the schools, working for several months to both put a budget together, which we thought we did in February, but then we were confronted by the COVID-19 virus, which has had a major effect for fiscal 21. The reason is that we expect the effect on state revenues will be very significant, and also on various categories of local tax revenue, particularly motor vehicle excise taxes and restaurant taxes, but then there are other categories as well. The net effect of all of that, after the time we thought we prepared a budget in February, was to open up a gap of approximately $5 million, at least that's what we expect it to be. And as I'm sure you know, a town like Belmont is not allowed to operate at a budget deficit. We have to have a balanced budget. So in anticipation of a significant shortfall in revenue, we had to make offsetting reductions in expenditures. That was a painful process, but working collaboratively with the school committee and the school superintendent, we think we've reached a reasonable arrangement to allow us to get through fiscal 21 with the revenue that we have or that we expect to have. That did require some painful decisions, though. For example, the roads budget has been largely eliminated. There'll be some road budget left over or remaining because we get money from the state under a special program called Chapter 90. But in town, we had earmarked about $1.7 million a year for road reconstruction. That money is now not going to be used for roads, but for other purposes. I believe my colleagues are agreed that this is a one-time emergency kind of measure that's not sustainable for the future, but we felt we had to do it for the coming year. There were other reductions in services in various town departments, particularly overtime on the town side, and the school stepped up and found ways to economize on their side as well. And the net result of all of that is we expect to have we now have what we expect is a balanced budget for fiscal 21. But of course, there's uncertainty. If more state aid comes in than we expected, we'll have potentially some money to work with. On the other hand, our expenses may be higher than we expected because we still don't know, in particular, what demands COVID-19 may place on the town in the coming months. And if the expenses are higher than we've budgeted for, then we'll have to make adjustments down the road. But what you'll see in the warrant is our best effort to put a budget together for fiscal 21 that works without an override. As I'm sure you've heard many times, the override that was passed in 2015 was only expected to last about 3 years. It's now it's about 6 years. That's reflected a combination of prudent fiscal planning and also, frankly, some fortunate events, and also drawing down of what we call one-time funds. One-time funds means it's basically money in an account that we're utilizing and it's not being replenished. The net effect of all of this is that we have really exhausted the tools available to us to extend the past override into fiscal 22. So even though we think we will get through fiscal 21 okay, fiscal 22 is going to be a very difficult and different situation where the choice will largely be an override of a substantial nature, although the magnitude is yet to be determined, or a significant reduction in town services. And the best metric for measuring a reduction in town services, unfortunately, is layoffs of town staff, because the town's expenses are very largely compensation driven. And if we don't have sufficient revenue, it's probably going to require significant reductions in staff, which is something nobody wants to do. But if an override is not approved, or a sufficient override is not approved, we will actually have very little alternative. That discussion will be for later in the year. I do hope that you vote in favor of the budget that's being presented to you this June. I think it's a good budget. I don't know of any better way we could approach the problems that we have for fiscal 21, but fiscal 22 is going to require a great effort by the towns and the schools and involvement with the community to decide what our priorities are, what we should continue doing, what maybe we should stop doing, what we can do differently. That will be an important conversation, because it is a set of issues that we really can't ignore. There's no can we can kick down the road. It's really time to confront the issues before us and find a solution. But fortunately, that is after June. The issue that we need to solve for town meeting is before you in the warrant. That will be June 16th. I hope we can conclude that work in one evening. If necessary, we'll continue on to June 17th, again in a Zoom format. You'll note also on the warrant that in addition to the kind of standard budget items, there are 2 additional items that are CPA related. One is involving repair to the chimneys on the town hall. That is an urgent safety issue. I urge you to vote in favor of that. And the other is an expanded use of monies that have been authorized, actually, I think 2 years ago, for use by the Housing Trust. The request before you is to have a new allowed use for that money, which is, it's $250,000 that would be available as an emergency rental assistance program for families in distress as a result of unemployment from COVID-19. And the sponsors of that amendment will explain in more detail at town meeting just exactly how that program will operate. The select board has voted in favor of the budget, has voted in favor of the chimney repair, and has voted in favor of the rental assistance program. And I urge you to consider a favorable vote as well, because we think these programs are all well advised. With that, I look forward to seeing you virtually on the 16th, and I look forward to a productive town meeting, and wish you all the best. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.